Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Hall Writes. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 10 tone words that you might not know, but probably should. These words have come up on the SAT, the AP Lang exam, and they can even be used in a rhetorical analysis. When answering tone questions, it helps to understand that tone is the author's attitude toward the subject. So to answer these questions, ask yourself, what's the subject? Then think about the author's attitude toward that subject. Tone questions can come with a variety of question stems, so it's important to remember a couple key things. First of all, some of these questions might be asking about the tone of the entire passage, whereas other times it might be asking about the tone within a particular paragraph. Another thing to remember is that sometimes tone questions have two words, and so it's really important to recognize that if one word does not fit, then just rule out the entire answer choice. Also keep in mind that sometimes they use the adjective or adverb form of some of these words, so make sure you're familiar with those as well. This first word comes up quite frequently in a variety of different ways, and that is wry. So it's important to recognize that this comes with either satire or when the author is trying to be sarcastic, perhaps. There's a little bit of dark humor with this, but it's very mocking. Next word is very much the opposite of wry, and that is earnest. So if someone is being earnest, they're being very sincere. So if you happen to see these two words paired together in a multiple choice question, one of them is definitely going to be wrong. Our next word is strident. Now, normally this describes sounds, but it can describe the written tone of a passage as well. So if the passage is loud or harsh or grating, so kind of like annoying, then perhaps it's a strident passage. This next word is often considered one of the top SAT words, and that is pedantic. So if someone is being pedantic, they're showing off their knowledge, and they're also very concerned with details. So it's someone who is very book smart, and they're trying to show that off. Ingratiating is another word that students might not be familiar with, but once you know what it means, it can be a little bit easier to determine whether or not that's an appropriate tone for the passage. So ingratiating is basically when someone is trying to gain favor, usually with their audience or maybe their reader. So there might be flattery. It might be almost like borderline sucking up a little bit because they're trying to gain approval. Next word is ambivalent, and this is one that I think students really need to commit to memory because I've seen it used in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's the answer choice. Other times it's a word that's in the passage. So it's really helpful to know that ambivalent means having contradictory feelings. So for instance, it could be happiness and sadness. It could be approval or disapproval, but basically there's a conflict there because there's contradictory emotions. This next word is somewhat similar, and that is equivocal. So if something is equivocal, it's open to more than one interpretation, so it's ambiguous. This word is actually used sometimes to describe a thesis that is not defensible. So if a student equivocates, meaning that they show both sides of the argument but don't assert a position, then they are being equivocal. This next word is one that I think students would choose simply because it sounds fancy, but it's really important to know how to use this word correctly, and that is polemical. So if something is polemical, it is very attacking. It is critical. It is controversial. Usually this tone word applies to something that is either religious or political in nature. And so it could be something like Martin Luther's 95 Theses. It could be something like Common Sense. But if your reaction to reading it is like, man, this person's throwing shade, or man, those are fighting words, then chances are it's a polemical tone. Perhaps you've heard of the word enigma and you know that it means that something is a mystery or maybe that it's a bit confusing. Then you would hopefully know that enigmatic means that something is mysterious or difficult to understand. If the writer is very disapproving of the subject, then chances are a good tone word to use would be reproachful. Now that you've learned or perhaps have refreshed your memory on 10 tone words, the question becomes, how do I actually determine the tone of a passage? Remember that tone is the speaker's attitude toward the subject. So this is going to be conveyed through word choice. Look for words that stand out. Are they flattering? Are they disapproving? This can help you determine the tone of the passage. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know there are many other tone words out there that I omitted from my list, so if there's one that you think is particularly important, leave me a message in the comments below. And if you guys like this video and are looking for more AP Lang content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Until next time, guys, happy writing!